Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. Tasmania has begun a 5.5-year journey to implement recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse. The state government releasing its full response to the report and its 191 recommendations today, revealing further delays to close Ashley Youth Detention Centre.
A landmark report revealed Tasmania's horrid past of child sexual abuse. The government has now handed down its full response. It maps out timelines for implementing all 191 recommendations across 3 phases and 5.5 years.
This is an important day. It's in fact the most important work that our government will undertake.
Before July 1 next year, the government will release a detailed action plan for implementing all recommendations, update child safety frameworks, begin reform on the State Servants' Code of Conduct, create the new expanded Commission for Children and Young People, and establish an independent monitor.
In the first parliamentary sitting week of 2024, I expect to be in a position to support the Premier in introducing that legislation.
The government expects just over 80% of the recommendations to be in place by the middle of 2026, including to introduce education on child sexual abuse prevention and harmful sexual behaviours for children and teachers, transition out-of-home care to non-government providers, create specialist Tas police units to investigate child sexual abuse, continue Code of Conduct reform and close Ashley Youth Detention Centre. Former Premier Peter Gutwein promised that would happen by the end of 2024. This response now says that a site master plan for the Brighton replacement facility is expected by then, with a development application in early 2025. Completion now promised by only mid-2026.
You've got children in Ashley Youth Detention Centre who every day are being exposed to human rights violations.
The government's planning the last tranche of reforms to be done by 2029, including to raise the age of criminal responsibility to 14, establish and maintain a carer register, reform the Health Complaints Commissioner and create its own redress scheme to continue the work of the national one. Next week, Parliament returns to scrutinise the government's response and ongoing support of victim survivors.
It is now our responsibility to take what they've shared with us to ensure that we can put changes in place to make sure that this type of thing never happens in Tasmania again.
While today's response charts the path forward, there's still calls to be looking back. The Attorney-General is confident in independent reviews launched to evaluate the conduct of state servants mentioned in the report.
It doesn't tell us whether key people and key structures in implementing recommendations going forward actually needed to be held to account. We need to have clarity, we need to have confidence.
Time for action on Tasmania's long road to safety.
And for more in state politics, we're joined by reporter Josh Duggan. Josh, Labor has released its candidates for the next election.
That's right, Kim, and there's one big omission. David O'Byrne has not been pre-selected. The Franklin MP, who remains a Labor member, hasn't been part of the caucus since he stepped down as leader in 2021, following allegations of inappropriate behaviour. But he had been hoping to return. He's released a statement today calling this decision devastating and says he'll be taking some time to consider his future.
I have every confidence in the people that we as a party put our trust in to make these decisions.
So Josh, who is on the list?
Well, Kim, it includes Derwent Valley Mayor Michelle Dracoulis, former federal Labor candidates Chris Lynch and Simon Davis, as well as Huon Valley Deputy Mayor Toby Thorpe. Also missing from the list, though, is Hobart City Councillor Ryan Posselt, who earlier this week announced his intention to run as a Labor candidate in Clark. Today's list does only include 30 out of 35 candidates, though, so there are 5 more that are going to be announced. The state election isn't scheduled for until May 2025, but of course the last poll was held a year early, so it seems Labor's certainly making sure they're not caught off guard again this time. Kim?
Okay, thank you very much there. Josh Duggan outside Parliament House. Well, shocking new figures reveal the number of patients ramped at our hospitals has skyrocketed in the past 8 years. It comes as the opposition calls for dozens of paramedics to be given permanent contracts in a bid to address the health crisis.
Cracks in our health system on full display. Newly published figures show a 5-fold increase in patients ramped, while time spent there increased a staggering 16 times, from 2,300 hours in 2016 to more than 36,000 hours this year.
What the numbers clearly show us now is that ramping is happening every single day for every single minute within our health system.
A parliamentary inquiry into ramping hearing more harrowing evidence from paramedics and patients.
We have situations where people have been managed through end-of-life situations in the midst of other patients.
One of the state's peak unions saying allied health could hold the key to the hospital crisis.
These are your physios, your occupational therapists, your podiatrists. These are the people that keep people out of hospital and can get people out of hospital sooner.
And it seems keeping critical ambulance crews on the road is also becoming an issue. According to HACSU and Labor, on Wednesday, staff shortages meant 14 rostered shifts couldn't be filled in the northwest, leaving just 2 fully crewed ambulances from Latrobe to Queenstown.
It puts incredible pressure on our hardworking paramedics, and it means that we can't provide adequate emergency services here across the northwest coast.
Health Minister Guy Barnett says while his department has increased the number of beds available across Tasmania's hospitals, a lack of appropriate placements for aged care and NDIS participants is causing significant bed block, adding he'll continue to listen and act as the inquiry progresses.
It is clear that a do-nothing approach is going to continue to see this crisis spiral out of control.
Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, submissions are now open for an inquiry into reproductive, maternal and children's health services in Tasmania. The inquiry will assess the adequacy, accessibility and safety of the services for parents and children. Submissions can be made until January 25. The Tenants Union wants landlords to be responsible for making homes more energy efficient to help renters cut power bills. On the first day of the inquiry into energy prices, the committee heard many power-saving measures aren't available to tenants.
Many of the reforms that would make properties warmer in winter and cooler in summer are things that the renter's not able to do without the landlord's consent. We need to say there are minimum energy efficient standards that every property has to have.
The union says many houses aren't equipped to deal with the winter cold and frequently dip below minimum healthy temperatures recommended by the World Health Organisation. A UTAS lecturer who died after a one-punch attack in Hobart in 2019 could have survived if his internal bleeding was detected sooner, according to a coroner. Stuart Williams was hit in the face at a nightclub and taken to emergency at the Royal Hobart Hospital where his condition deteriorated. A coroner says ample opportunities to assess and treat Dr Williams adequately were missed and the severity of his bleeding overlooked. The hospital has implemented a number of changes following Dr Williams' death. His attacker, Beau Wayne Kelly, was sentenced to 5 years jail for manslaughter. Bellerive detectives are investigating an alleged serious assault of a young child. Police were called to the Royal Hobart Hospital this morning after the child presented with critical injuries, which officers believe are suspicious. An ambulance transported the child from a home in Warrane just after 1 a.m. Well, the Taste of Summer Festival is normally all about the food. This year's event is set to showcase 60 musicians and performers from across Tasmania as the program expands to 9 days. A vital chance for performers to showcase their creations.
It's really exciting. It's a great honour to be able to share my music and my art with people that I know in places that I've grown up in. It feels quite exciting.
We've got a main stage that faces across Salamanca lawns. It's a beautiful big stage and there's a lot of shade there on the lawns. There's some AstroTurf out the front and plenty of room for dancing.
The musical festivities start December 27. Tasmania is on track to help Australia end the HIV/AIDS epidemic. New figures released on World AIDS Day show cases have plummeted, along with the risk of dying from AIDS. But the stigma still remains, with an advocacy group looking to change old attitudes.
We've come a long way since this ad hit our screens.
Over 50,000 men, women and children now carry the AIDS virus. that in 3 years nearly 2,000 of us will be dead.
The HIV/AIDS epidemic has been one of the great modern health challenges. However, as treatment improves, Australia is on track to meet the United Nations goal of ending the public health threat by 2030.
So Australia's well placed to achieve that target, and probably the leading light around the world.
New figures show HIV cases have plummeted by 88%, with AIDS numbers also in decline. The amount of people diagnosed in Tasmania each year also on the slide.
Because it's so low, it's hard to quantify, but it would be less than 10 people.
But challenges remain. Of the 28,000 people who are estimated to carry the virus, 10% remain undiagnosed, many also not diagnosed on time.
HIV presents as a cold and flu-like symptoms initially, and then you don't really have any symptoms again for up to 4 years.
The stigma also sticking around. Tas Chard using World AIDS Day to change views through the power of social media.
Just coming from a place of standing over here and judging someone, pause and reflect on that.
People with HIV live a full and fantastic life, much like the rest of us.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
A West Hobart home will light up tonight, aiming to help spread some Christmas cheer to struggling families. Final preparations went up today on Mole Street. Owner Johnny Hu has partnered with Hobart City Mission and is asking Christmas light spotters to donate a toy. So around 3,000 children have something under the tree this giving season.
Being able to support families to put food on the table and enable a child to have the joy that comes with Christmas morning and a toy there for them, it's a huge, huge difference.
I do it to bring joy to the community and help other kids experience that joy that I had.
And if you're just passing by, you can donate on the Hobart City Mission website. The display will be on show until the end of December. Salamanca Market shoppers will have extra help during the busy festive period, with special volunteers to be rolled out from this weekend. Armed with iPads, Santa's helpers will connect customers to the stalls and products they need. The City of Hobart program aimed at making the Christmas crush easier to navigate.
There's a lot of people around, so having these volunteers assisting people will be really helpful to just guide them through that shopping experience.
A lot of people come and they say, we were here 10 years ago and we bought X and we'd like to buy it again, and we have to try and work out who that stall holder is and whether they're here on the day.
The volunteers will be on site every Saturday until Christmas. The Weather Bureau is warning Tasmanians of unusually hot weather over the summer months. Lifeguards already preparing as the perfect storm of El Niño, the cost of living and more visitors could see many hit by the heat.
It's the summer warning that could melt the plans of some Tasmanians.
The Bureau of Meteorology is forecasting a warmer than usual summer. That means that there's an increased risk of both extreme heat and heat waves.
The Bureau of Meteorology's announcement prompting preparation mode for our health services, lifesavers and the community. Some regions in the hot seat.
There is more than a 50% chance of unusually hot conditions in the northeast of the state.
The Health Department asking people to be aware of the risks of heat-related illnesses, particularly the elderly or chronically ill.
We know that when there's heat waves, the ambulance call-outs can increase by up to 30%.
800 surf life-saving volunteers are preparing to man our oceans this National Water Safety Day, with more beachgoers expected to turn to our free waterways thanks to the cost of living.
People will be holidaying and recreating much closer. No Tasmanian really lives more than 4 minutes away from a body of water.
A certain cohort of particular concern.
As far as trends, we're seeing unfortunately males still, 18 to 25, largely overrepresented, taking those risk activities.
Lifesavers spent a combined total of 23,000 hours patrolling our state's waterways last year alone, responding to 2,400 people who needed help. Apps like Beach Safe can give you more information about weather conditions and risks, while swimming between the flags is just as important as ever. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
A waterfront eyesore in Invermay is getting a makeover. The Charles Street end of Riverbend Park will be home to Launceston's first pump track, a versatile course suitable for almost anything with wheels, which is gaining popularity in Tasmania.
A lot of kids use pump tracks, a lot of scooters, BMX riders, skateboarders, inline skaters, but essentially a pump track, anyone can ride it, any age.
It's almost like the final piece of the Riverbend puzzle. Right on the waterfront, very visible with the cars going past, and yeah, just a really great final sort of piece to this area down here in Invermay.
Tenders are open for the $500,000 track, which Council hopes will be open by mid next year.
Ariane Titmus is Tasmania's Athlete of the Year, taking out the prestigious gong for the third time at a gala event last night. The evening also saw a Tasmanian gymnast and a basketball legend welcomed into the Hall of Fame. Almost 2 metres tall, Longford-born Ian Davies was a renowned long-distance sharpshooter, leading Launceston to its first and only NBL title. With 4,500 NBL points to his name, an Olympian and then coach, he passed away 10 years ago. Last night, named Tasmania's 141st Hall of Famer.
I loved his basketball. If he wasn't watching it, he was playing it, he was talking about it.
Davies played high school basketball in the US, where he met lifelong friend Curtis Coleman.
Back in 1970s, when I met him, he walked past, looked at me, how are you, how are you? I said, you're a great player, mate. And he said, you think so? Well, I think so. He was so ahead of his time. He was a legend.
Trampoline gymnast Jack Penny, the 142nd Hall of Famer. A 20-time Australian representative, he holds a number of Tasmanian records, crediting the support he received here with his success.
I was with the TIS as a scholarship holder for about 10 years and the community when I started was really small, and now it's grown to this amazing size. So it's been such a community that's grown and fed and supported each other, and that's why I could do what I did.
He's still involved in gymnastics, helping to foster the next generation.
We've got some really good established athletes and some great talent coming through. A couple in contention for future Olympic Games. We've had 7 athletes just come back from the World Championships, so the future's bright.
The future's also looking bright for the Athlete of the Year.
It's not her first, and hopefully with Paris next year it won't be her last, Ariane Titmus.
Launceston-born Ariane Titmus' third time taking out the award after another standout year in the pool. Unable to attend the ceremony while preparing for Paris, sending her Olympic swim cap to be kept at the TIS.
Ever since leaving the state to train, I feel so blessed to have a whole entire community down there still backing me, and I feel like that support is unmatched from anyone else in my life.
The Jack Jumpers have been busy plugging holes in their defence during a fortnight break. The Jackies host the 36ers tomorrow night, returning to MyState Bank Arena for the first time in a month. Scott Roth using the FIBA International window to train and tweak their game plan. The team promising fans can expect a tighter defensive effort.
I feel like we've struggled a little bit to start the season, so it's definitely something we worked on throughout the 2 weeks, and hopefully we can translate that into the games.
We feel like we've made some strides in that, and as our defence goes up, like that continually challenges our offence, which we've done a good job of so far.
Tip-off is tomorrow night at 8 p.m. One of our Hurricanes recruits is hoping to be a smash hit this Big Bash season. Nikal Chaldry will get an early taste of Tasmanian cricket this weekend, playing for Glenorchy in the local T20 competition. The all-rounder out to make an impact in the middle order.
When you get into the team, you know your role. So I'm pretty obvious with my role that I've got to go and finish the game for the Hurricanes.
Fellow Queensland expat Sam Haslett, meanwhile, is keen on Blunston Arena's short boundaries.
When it comes to sixes, I'll probably that pull shot and sweep shots and stuff like that against the quicks and spin is my go-to often.
The Canes season gets underway against the Sixers on December 11.
Good evening and happy summer to one and all. And this is how it panned out today. Hobart 18 degrees, Launceston and Devonport 21, Burnie a high of 20, Flinders Island and Bushy Park 22 degrees, Low Head and Friendly Beaches 21, Grove 20, King Island, St Helens and Strawn all 19, Lyawini a high of 15. So summer kicked off with average or just below average temperatures and overnight showers mainly over the east as low cloud gathered there. There is also, now let me use the technical term, Some wispy clouds streaming over the state. Thank the Bureau for that one. Southern Queensland and northern New South Wales are under heavy thunderstorm cloud too, a bit more over the tropical north as well. Tomorrow a large high approaches Tasmania from the west. As they do, troughs lie over a large portion of the mainland. South to southeasterly winds, mostly at 10 to 20 knots tomorrow, lighter, more variable winds inland. Saturday in Hobart, 19, a shower or two, 21 the top for Maydena, a possible shower, 40% chance of a shower for Oatlands as well, a top of 20 degrees. Launceston, 24, a shower, showers for Devonport, 21 and 15 the high for Lyowini. 19 in Burnie, a possible shower, 20 the top for Strawn, Marrawar cloudy and 18 degrees. St Helens, cloudy and 20, a possible shower for Swansea and Orford, expecting 19. On to Sunday, a cloudy day with an isolated shower or two. Fine on Monday as temperatures rise slightly. And on Tuesday, a fine day. Launceston 29, St Helens 28, Hobart 24, just a light shower for Strawn. That's more like summer. A fine 27 in Perth tomorrow, partly cloudy and 24 on the way for Adelaide. Showers and a cool 17 in Melbourne and wet weather up along the eastern seaboard and the northern tropics. Plenty of cloud about, Hobart 18 at the moment, Launceston 20, currently Devonport 17 degrees. You're probably wondering at home why Kim Miller's looking so glamorous this evening. Well, it's our 7 Tasmania Christmas function tonight and she's decided to make an effort, haven't you, Kim? Good on you.
I got to do it once a year. Thanks, Murph. That is all your news for now over the weekend. Michael Maney will join you. For now, good night.